I view you as actually someone who's a little bit more objective in the 2024 race when it comes to Trump, DeSantis, Vivek, the other candidates. So I'd love, if I could, to get your take on where things stand right now in 2024.
Yeah, so as you said, I wasn't initially on board with Trump when he was elected in 2016. I was very critical. That being said, the instant push to resist everything that Trump said or stood for, or any of his policies, regardless of what they were, was remarkably disingenuous to me. And so I started looking specifically at Trump's policies as he went on during his presidency and made judgments based on how he was leading the country at the time, which I think many Democrats have still not been able to do. They're so blinded by their rage and hatred for Trump. As we go into 2024, I don't remember a time when we've seen a president come back after a loss and attempt to regain second term in office. Find that to be a really fascinating occurrence. If we have two single-term presidents back to back, it's been a really long time I've had that. That's pretty interesting as well. But as we look at the GOP field, I think there are a lot of interesting candidates, but Trump certainly is the front runner, and do keep seeing that in polling. He's not just a front runner on the GOP field. Recent polling from New York Times showed him with a 37% lead ahead of DeSantis. And it was very interesting. I listened to The Daily, which is a New York Times podcast, as they tried to figure out just why Trump was 37 points ahead of DeSantis. And they really wanted to spin it in some way that was favorable to somebody else, but they were not able to do that. I think that the indictments, the continued political prosecution of Donald Trump from what is really obviously, to me, a not independent Department of Justice, is fueling a lot of support among the GOP for Trump. Also, he is so outspoken on how he would lead the country. And what we see from a lot of other candidates are kind of equivocations. I do think Vivek Ramaswamy is very interesting. I like how he is impacting the conversation around what should be going on in the country, what kind of foreign policies we should be having. And I like when he comes out and speaks. I've seen him speak a couple of times, and I'm very interested in what he has to say. He has a similarity to Trump in that they are both coming from the business world without a lot of political experience prior to jumping into the presidential arena. So that is a fascinating turn of events as well. I will say that I had been initially very excited by Ron DeSantis. I loved what he was doing in Florida, as so many of us did, watching how Florida blossomed while my home of New York got virtually decimated during COVID and has still certainly not recovered. I looked upon that with a certain measure of envy, and my cousins in Florida, looking at them was like, oh, you get to just go live your lives. I find it really just it's sort of sad as to what's happened to his campaign. I think some of that had to do with the fact that he was essentially running before he announced that he was running for president. But I don't know what's going on with his campaign. I don't know why they are sort of holding back, I guess maybe it is, to consider that it's maybe the benefit of the doubt to say that. But maybe he should have slowed his roll and come out in 2028, because clearly he is a very talented leader, even if he is not particularly a talented candidate.